So here is my, oh, also just so you all know, I have on this program called Visualize so that you can see where I'm clicking, the buttons that I'm pressing, and yeah, you can just follow along a little bit better. So here is my file in InDesign, and I have created everything the way that I like. This is all live text, and over here I have everything outlined. Whoops. Over here I have everything outlined, so when I pull this in, I don't have to worry about packaging. So I've saved 2 versions of this. I have a full working Illustrator file, and then I also exported this second page just so that it can go at higher quality into the InDesign document. I exported this as a PDF because we have the ability to have higher quality renderings rather than like a PDF or a PNG, excuse me, or any sort of other file type. So I'm going to go over to InDesign, and here I have my document set up. So it is an 11 by 17 document. What we're sending over to the copy center is going to have space for 3 calendar pages. So you'll just put your calendar page once it's fully in here, once, twice, 3 times. So I've got 5 pages set up, so that gives us about 15 pages total, so we can make 15 copies. So everyone can have one, I get one, and then we can have you know, a little bit of overrun in case the unthinkable happens. So what I did was I went to File, New Document, as you all know. Once it loads, I always turn my preview on just to make sure that we can see what's happening. Make sure you change your units to inches, and we have 17 by 11. We need 5 pages. You'll see all that change is starting to reflect. And we don't need any sort of extra columns or anything. We're just going to add that stuff in later. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create. So your paper size itself that we're going to be trimming these down to is 5 by 10. So I'll just go to the rectangle tool and make a 5 by 10 rectangle. Oops. Okay. And I'm going to change the stroke to a light gray. And I'm also going to change that stroke to just a dotted line, just so that it's not super in the way. So I'm going to line it up with this margin here, and I'll pull a second one and a third one, holding down Shift and Option at the same time just to make sure everything is nice and squared away. I'm going to use my Align tools up here in the upper right hand part of my screen, and I'm just going to distribute the horizontal centers just to give myself a little bit more space. We want this dotted line to not be super apparent, so when we actually do go trim, that this can get cut off. Okay. What's really great, oh, see, I messed up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to go onto my master page and put these here. Oops, paste in place. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some crop marks for each of the corners, just so that we know where actually to cut. So holding down Shift to make a nice straight line. And oops. So the reason I'm doing this is just to stay nice and consistent. And once these look the way that I would like them to, oops. Great. Okay, I've grouped those. Now I'm going to Option drag another one over here and rotate it. Oops. And get that aligned just where the other one is. Great. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to select both of these. Whoops. This visualize box is kind of getting in my way. And now flip these again. Transform. Whoops, vertical. Long day, not enough coffee. Flip, vertical. Okay, now I want to focus. Perfect, great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these, group them all again, and drag another copy right here. I'm going to have to go in and double check to make sure that everything, whoa, oh, there we go. Everything is aligned properly. Oops. We can zoom in just to make sure our corners are looking nice and good. I just want this to be behind. Come on. Ooh, my computer's mad at me. Oh, it's really mad. Don't have too many programs open at once, kids. And always be saving things. My computer is angry. Okay, I'm going to send this behind. And I'm going to do the same thing one more time and pull another copy over here. And this one looks great. Okay, perfect. So now when I hit W to look at the overprint preview, everything looks good. We see where our crop marks are. They're all at the same height. So when we make that first initial cut, we don't have to worry about cutting off too far or too close. Later on too, we can also actually delete these. If we have these crop marks here, we don't technically need this little dotted border, but I think it's really helpful when we are starting to lay everything out, just so that we know, okay, this is where this goes and this is how we want everything to look. Okay, so double click to get out of your master page, excuse me. And now we will start placing things into InDesign. So we love InDesign because it creates a nice little paper trail for us when we are coordinating and putting other pieces of information into these documents, as you guys know. So we're going to take the rectangle frame tool over here, and I made my design, if we go back and we look, I made my design the full 5x10. So my calendar is actually going to go in this little component right here. And with that, I want you guys to be creative. If this is something that you know, yes, the point of this is to be a calendar, but it's also supposed to be some sort of creative, fun thing for you guys to do. So if you would like to have fun with this, like, by all means, have fun. So we're going to go back to InDesign, and I'm going to make a rectangular frame that is, in fact, 5x10 inches. Okay. So I'm going to put this back to where it needs to go. And remember, these won't move because they're on the master page, so we don't have to stress about that. Now I'm going to go, whoops, well, I should have pressed file save a lot earlier, but I'll do it now. Curly colon _ calendar demo. Great. Okay. I meant to press Command D, which is place. And so now I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to find my January outlined PDF. Perfect. So that fit right in that same frame and gave me just a little bit of a margin, because I want that to have a little bit of breathing room. I could resize this by holding down Shift and Option if I wanted to. Oops, that's too far. But I don't really want it this. Yeah. So the reason why I like that margin there is because when we go to hole punch this, we'll need to have room for the spiral and a little hole, like a pinhole for it. So I might actually shrink this down just a little bit further. Actually, let's scoot this way. Okay, great. So hit W just to double check. That looks nice. I am very content with this. So instead of copying and pulling these all over now, I'm just going to keep working and manipulating from here, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we can go out to where's table, create table. Whoops. Okay, so if we're making a calendar, this part is kind of up to you guys. If you're going to make a traditional calendar, you'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 rows and 7 columns. So that would be like 49 squares. I'm going to do a traditional, I wanted to do 2 rows and just kind of have the numbers next to the letter and have it be a little bit different. My design changed a lot over the last couple hours. So I'm going to do 7 by 7, I believe. You can add a header row or footer row if you would like, but this works for now. You can always add more. So once you've set, you go up to table, create table. Once you've set the rows and columns that you would like for your table, you have this little icon guy that exists, and now you can drag to create the width or whatever of your table. I'm going to come closer to where my actual table will fit, and I'm going to draw the width of it. Oops. It's a learning process, guys. Okay. I'm gonna make sure there's a little bit of padding on each. Okay, fantastic. Now we can see we've got a very typical grid looking calendar. Right off the bat, if I want, I can go ahead and I can adjust. I can change this. I don't want there to be any sort of stroke. And so when you are editing in your table, you have to highlight the row. So you go to like the very left of the column, and this little kind of arrow pointing that way will show up. And we see that there's a stroke. I'm just going to go ahead and click none, and I'm clicking and dragging, and I'm just going to click none for all of this. And I'm going to do the same this way because I don't want there to be, hey, now, come on. This will fight you. If someone knows an easier way, you know, we are all here to learn from, with each other. Oh, perfect. Also, because these are all set up, sometimes that will kind of give you a hard time too. It's good to have to struggle because you learn through these things. You really, really do. None. And I'm doing this individually because it sassed me earlier, so we'll just kind of do her one by one. None. And now I'll click here. Perfect. Yeah, so it looks like you have to do everything individually, and you'll still see these like blue grid lines, kind of like if you have a baseline grid on or something like that. Or like grid guidelines that you've created. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Love this. Okay, so this typeface that I'm using, if I go back, is in fact matchbook texture. I was trying to find something that looked like wood type. Surprise. No one was surprised. So I'm going to see what it looks like as numerals. I really like it up here. I think it's very fun and friendly. However, I am worried about it being at such a small size with big chunky serifs like this. So I'm going to pull another one over here just in case things don't work out the way that I want. And you can go ahead and make a character in a paragraph style if you would like for this. I just kind of like to see where everything, ooh, we're gonna have some problems. Where everything is. This means that the text is too big. Point size is too big. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so you can see that the space that each letter is taking up in this cell is not perfectly centered. Okay, so it's not quite up at the top, it's not quite up at the bottom, and it's also not in the center of the page. Okay, so another thing that you can do is you can open up your calendar and see, you know, this has to be obviously accurate. We want to use this. When does the calendar start? The first starts on a Wednesday, the 31st is on a Friday, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like I might have too many rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can actually get rid of this row. So I left click and I'm going to delete this row. Cool. So now I have a little bit more space. If I wanted to make things a little bit longer, I can do that. But now that last row is what's longest. And that kind of gets a little hairy. So since we know how to do this, we can go ahead and remake our table if we'd like. But just for time's sake, I'm just going to keep going from here. Oh, this is really big. I want this to be 10 point. Okay. 2, 3, whoops, 4, 6. This is the overset text. 13, 14, 15. You know what? There we go. And then, is there a 31? There is. It's a Friday. 31, the 31st. Okay, great. So we've got our table put in. It looks like this. Okay, so always, always, always be checking to see where you're at. And you can, you know, I think I could make a couple modifications to my design if I really, really wanted to. I think I actually can go in and, no, I can't. Just kidding. I thought I could edit this still, but it's a PDF, so, and it looks really nice, nice and crispy. Everything looks good. Okay, so I changed my mind. I would like my T to be R because Thursday has an R in it and Tuesday does not. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna have some options here. Okay, so when you're making a character style, you can go ahead, you know, to double click, and I'm going to call this days of the week to get into the character style options. Matchbook regular. And, oh, that is far too big. Let's see how small 6 gets. It still looks like that's far too big, and I'm worried about readability when things get this small. So it could, let me just go to Gotham. Lost Monday. Okay, I'm gonna stick with 9. And I can go back and change the character color later. Your paragraph styles is where days of the week, where you have your alignment tools. You have a lot more alignment tools over here. Okay, so this is the same as what we had from the character style. And now I'm gonna go to indents and spacing. I'm also going to click preview just to make sure that I like what's happening. And I'm going to center this. I also can center this in the frame up here, and I'm going to do that up here. But I think I like centered just for clarity's sake. And you can also change the character color here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new swatch from one of these once I've decided what I would like to be my color. But yeah, okay, so these tools up here will align to the center, the bottom, whatever you want. I like the center because it gives it a little bit more breathing room if we're looking at this. I also can, I think I'm going to resize this holding thing. But yeah, so now we can make a new character style for day numbers. And we'll do Gotham again. Maybe not Gotham Black. I said. And I don't know why this is sassing so much. Oh, that's why. We'll do Gotham Light. And we can't see it yet, but because that was 9, we'll keep this at 8 just to see what happens, and we'll click OK for now. So now I'm gonna double click and I'm gonna highlight all the cells that I want to be the day numbers. Okay, and that looks like that's too big. So let's go back into our options and we can go to basic character formats and we can drop this down to 7. I think 7 should be okay. It's always good, you know, like I've said before, we can print a copy just to test and see the readability and if this is working. So when we're zoomed out, we obviously won't be able to see. This negative space down here is really bothering me. I'll address that in a second. But this looks pretty good. It's a decent enough contrast with the whimsical kind of fun chunky serifs that are here. In a perfect world, I would like this to be the same typeface. So I might actually remove some of these snows and we'll see what I can finagle. It could be a little bit wider. These could be smaller, but I'm really happy with the design. So I'm going to keep going and I might actually widen this a little bit. And you'll see that it kind of works similarly to an actual text, like a image frame, excuse me, like what we use to place this in. The layer, or excuse me, wow, I can't speak. The table cell itself has the ability to be larger and smaller, okay? So I'm going to go and make a paragraph style for the numbers as well. Day numbers, oops. And it's the same as what we had set before. And I'm also going to highlight and change the position of where they are. Indents and spacings, yeah, I'm going to have them centered. I'm going to click OK. Okay, great. So now I'm going to highlight all these, call it date numbers. So that's centered everything. And I'm also going to bump it down into the center of those individual cells. I think that just looks a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. I was hoping to have either a light value on here or a nice dark teal, like this one right here that I've used. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click and, ooh, it is a vector graphic, but that's okay. So ooh, whoa, that was interesting. Didn't expect that to happen. Oh, that's because I have that selected. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new swatch. Here, I'll click over here. That will make it happy. Can I not? No. Okay. Great. Okay. And I did not change my color modes because I did not think that far in advance. So I will have to do that. But this is just for example's sake. I did actually pull this color palette off of my Google Chrome color tab, whatever that guy is. But anyways, okay, so days of the week, we're going to change that character color. Okay. And day numbers, I'm going to go back and I'm going to change my character color to the same. Very subtle, but I think that works. I like the way that it looks. Okay. Oh, we need to get that stroke out of there. We don't want stroke. No. Okay. So yeah, that's how you make a calendar. Cool. Also, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and I'm going to go down to my next paste. I think I can actually paste in place here and paste in place here and again paste in place. Oops, got to make sure you have that page selected. Paste in place. Dang it. So now I can select all these. Make sure you have that page selected. You'll see over here if you have it selected. Paste in place. Paste in place. And finally, paste in place. There you have it. So when you guys are saving, make sure that you file save and you file package your file, because we need all of these really great fonts, colors, everything else. Package, save it on your desktop. Make sure that you have the IDML, all of these. Package, don't steal fonts is what it's saying. Great. And it's going to create all those files for you. And that's that. Let me know if you guys have any questions moving forward. If you also would like some feedback on your designs, anything that you're working on, I would love to give feedback. So let me know how I can help. Otherwise, have a fantastic winter break. Thanks, guys.